this episode
Yeah.
of Film in Minnesota. This is Rahana Power.
I'm Alan Tracy.
And this week we are joined by, you guys, words are hard, by Nicole Goeden. Nicole, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We are going to just jump right in. So I have less words to say. What is a special, fun, random, interesting talent that you have that others may or may not know about?
Okay. Yes. This unfortunately does not translate to radio very well, but I can make a lot of shapes with my tongue. I can make like a bathtub shape and a smiley face and a clover shape.
Pictures.
Yeah.
Pictures.
We'll get those pictures.
I mean, it's not going to be the most attractive photo you've ever seen. But
that's okay.
Yeah, I don't know how I discovered this talent. I think just playing around in the mirror one day, I was trying to figure out if I could roll my tongue.
Yeah.
And then I just started making other shapes.
Okay, can you in fact roll your tongue now, or is that okay? I was gonna say like it would be interesting if you could do all those things, but
That's a
quite
good
roll.
point.
But you
That's a
can.
good
So,
point. I can. Yes.
That is
and
fascinating.
And other things.
And others.
I have not yet come into a situation where that is actually useful for anything other than a question like this. So
That's okay. That's a good icebreaker. So if nothing else,
You know,
There you go.
once there was this mirror that was for rolling your tongue if you couldn't.
Yeah.
But it was at like the Ripley's Believe It or Not Museum, which
Okay.
is not the right place to try to do that. Because I think I practiced doing that as a kid, like I was a kid or something. And when you get to the end of the museum, you see the camera looking at people trying to do it.
oh no, that's
just
not nice.
I know.
phenomenal.
It was just because there was like this video in this mirror, and it's like, oh, it's about trying to roll your tongue.
Oh.
And only at the end do you realize you've been making
You've
a
been
fool
made
of
a
your.
fool.
Yeah.
At least it's just
no.
like a video for you to just watch right there, or somebody that's walking
Yeah.
by, and not something that's like broadcast
Right.
for all to see.
All the world.
Exactly.
Oh, how delightful of
Right.
them. That's nice. Well, I'm going to keep that in mind if I ever go to that museum because
Right? Yeah. You're drawn, and it's like, no, I know what you're doing.
You'd be like showing off
Not gonna
though
get me.
instead.
Yeah.
That would actually be brilliant for
Making
you.
all my other shapes. Yay, we found a use for it.
Yeah.
Thank you,
I
Alan.
love it.
There we go. South Dakota's Ripley's Believe It or Not.
There we go. Now it's on my list.
Yeah.
Bucket list. So you are an actress.
I am.
You are. Okay, tell us about that. How did you get into acting?
Yeah. Okay. I am one of those people who liked performing as a kid. I started singing. My mom says before I started talking, I was singing. I don't know. It might just be a mom thing. But I used to like get up on the picnic table when I was 3 or 4 and like sing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star or whatever it was. And then I grew up out west in a really small town in Dillon, Montana, in the southwest corner of Montana. And so we did not have like arts camps or acting camps or really any of that kind of stuff. But I was really lucky to have some amazing people come into my life that just happened to be in this really small town. And one of them was a woman who came in and decided to start like a little children's theater company right around the time that I was interested in that kind of thing. So I think I was, maybe 9 or 10 years old. My first 2-week summer camp thing right in my hometown with her. And she wrote this musical about Lewis and Clark because our town is on the Lewis and Clark Trail.
Oh, cool.
And so it was called Lewis and Clark Rolling Down the River. Yep. And I had a very small role in that, but I had just the best time because of the people that I met.
Yeah.
And then after that, I just had like this bug that I wanted to do I don't know. I just wanted to perform and tell stories and be in a community of people telling stories. So yeah, I did that kind of stuff. And then in high school, I got more involved kind of junior and senior year. Again, because I was from a really small town, we had no budget for our plays. And so we only did things that didn't require royalties. So we did Shakespeare.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like that's how I learned to act. There's another amazing woman who worked as an actor for years. She was actually in the Twin Cities for a while. And then she moved out there and she became the high school drama director. And she was really talented, and I got the opportunity to work with her, and she just taught me a ton.
Wow.
And yeah, and then I went to college, and I wasn't going to major in theater because I was like, well, that's not practical.
Right.
So I spent my first year as a communications major because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I was like, well, this will use some of my skills. And after I did that for a year, I really missed theater. So I had a chat with my parents, and I was really nervous, but they were super supportive, and they were like, yeah, as long as you can find a job, like you can major in whatever you want. And I was like, awesome. So I became a theater major, music minor. Yeah. And then I graduated, and I lived in the Twin Cities for just like a year and a half after graduation, and just did a few plays, like a few summer Shakespeare in the Park type things. And then I moved out to DC for a few years, and didn't do a ton of acting out there. I was working full time and really missing it. And then we moved to Chicago for 3 years. So I did some stuff there. I got involved with a Shakespeare company there that I have done quite a few tours with throughout the Midwest. Stone Soup Shakespeare, shout out to them. And then the woman who is the artistic director there talked me into auditioning for grad school. I had auditioned for grad school like right after undergrad, and I had no idea what I was doing or what I wanted to do or like even why I wanted to go to grad school. But I was like, this is a logical next step. And I didn't get into anywhere then, and sort of wrote it off as like, well, that's not going to happen. And yeah. And then Julia talked me into auditioning for the program that she had done in Scotland because she just loved it. Yeah. And they come to Chicago every year and do auditions. And she was like, just come and audition. It'll be really fun. They're really great. Okay. So I went and auditioned for that. And then I got in, which I didn't expect. And it was funny because I told my husband, I was like, yeah, you know that grad school audition that I did? He's like, well, yeah, obviously. And I was like, so I got in. Isn't that funny? And he was like, are you serious? I was like, yeah. But I mean, I'm not going to go. And he was like, yes, you are. He was like, what are you talking about? I was like, well, we can't just move to Scotland. And he was like, why?
Right. Yeah.
He's like, I would love to. Yes, we're moving to Scotland. And I was like, oh, okay. So we did.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Wow.
Another shout out to a very supportive human in my life. Thank you, Alex.
Right. Oh my goodness.
So yeah, we moved to Scotland, and I did a 1-year acting master's in Glasgow, and it kind of just changed my whole life.
I believe it.
Yeah. And we had decided we wanted to live in the Twin Cities when we moved back. We met here, and we both really enjoyed it and felt like it was a great place for us both to do things that we really enjoy. But it's a little smaller, more manageable than Chicago.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went on this amazing 1-year adventure, and I met people from all over the world that are now my friends. And really got to just completely dive into acting and I don't know, learn more about the craft and yeah, just totally devote my time to that, which was really an amazing thing. And then I came back here and realized all of the opportunities that are here that I hadn't even realized when I had lived here right after college. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much going on here. Like even more, I mean, I knew I knew it was a good theater community and stuff, but I had no idea all the on-camera stuff that happens here. And so that was such an exciting surprise to come here and be like, oh, there is a lot going on. There's like so many opportunities. So yeah, that's sort of the whole. Woo.
That is an amazing adventure.
It was.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So how long have you been back in the Twin Cities now?
So I have now been back for just over 4 years. Yeah, and it's cool because since I decided to go to grad school and take that break, I chose not to get a full-time job when I came back. And again, a very supportive spouse who was like, why don't you try doing the freelance thing and just see? And so that's part of why it changed my whole life, because I was able to really put more time into, going after acting endeavors and stuff like that. So, yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit. Let's go back to Glasgow.
Okay. Yeah.
In Scotland, like, what did you learn about acting yourself? Anything like what did you?
Oh my word, so many things.
Yeah,
it's amazing when I know that it's a very privileged thing to be able to take the time to do that, but I really encourage people, like, if given the opportunity and the resources, even to do something like that for a month where you can really immerse yourself, because once you're just in it and that's all that you're doing, you discover so many things about yourself. And I think I found so much confidence that I didn't have before, just in my abilities, and also, like, if you don't know how to do something right away, that's okay. And also that's normal. That's what training's for. Right. So just a lot of, like, failing in a safe space, was really great to have that time to try things that I was like, well, definitely not suited to that. But also, oh gosh, what else? I mean, my favorite part of the program, honestly, was because I'm a Shakespeare nerd. That's my background. That's where I came from. We got to spend an entire month at the Globe Theatre in London.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, training with their educators. So we worked with their voice coaches and their movement coaches and learned, like, court dances and all of that kind of stuff. And so that really took my classical acting, I think, to another level, because they just taught me to look at the text in a different way. And also, I was amazed how much I learned about physicality doing that kind of stuff, and learning to maybe not limit myself quite so much, because I have had problems with being really stiff on stage, and it really has helped me sort of start to break out of that, and also just be more open-minded about what a human can look like as a character, instead of like, well, that's just too extreme. Like, if you really start looking at people, you notice that there's a lot of different ways that people move, and a lot of physicalities that aren't as extreme as they might first seem, and you're like, oh, it's actually very believable. And one other really interesting project that I worked on while I was there, I was in someone's piece that they created for a fringe type festival that was in Glasgow, in a beautiful space that's no longer there, which is really unfortunate. But it's underneath their train system, so it was like this I don't know, maze of caves almost. Yeah. Oh wow! And so we got to put on pieces in all of these different kind of, I don't know, really unique spaces. But she created this piece that was, it's a storytelling piece. It's a verbatim piece. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but it's basically taking real stories from real people and using their words to create a script. And then we had to recreate those people as closely as possible. So they gave us the actual recordings of the people's voices. Wow. And our job was to speak their words as closely to the way they spoke them as possible. We didn't have video recordings, so we could do whatever we wanted physically that made sense with the character. But that was a real challenge. It ended up being my thesis because I was like, how is this different than how is this artistry and not just mimicry?
Right.
So I wrote my whole thesis about that.
Oh, wow.
Like kind of where does the actor's artistry come into play there?
Absolutely.
Like, is there any, or are we just like impersonating people? But I found that there are little ways that you're still putting yourself into a character that would be different from someone else doing it. But that was a real challenge because they didn't necessarily cast to type either. Like the whole play was about older people and their experiences with music. So I was playing a 95-year-old man from Bristol.
Oh, wow.
Hi, that's a challenge.
No kidding. Oh my goodness.
It was a stretch. But it was really fun to try to like completely transform myself into
Absolutely.
something like that.
How did you even begin with that process?
Wardrobe?
So yeah,
Makeup.
that definitely helped. That always tends to help me if I can find even one piece that I can connect to. But yeah, it was a lot of starting from the outside in. So physicality, figuring out like, okay, well, how does he sit? And like we could create that ourselves because again, it was just audio recordings. How do we think he sits? And how do we think if he was moving, how would he move? And then it was honestly recording myself saying the lines and listening to it side by side with his actual recording. And then trying to tweak my voice to get closer to his, which was such a challenge. It was honestly so frustrating. Like I'm a perfectionist. And so, you know, with something like that, you want it to be spot on, but also realizing like, hi, I'm not a 95-year-old man from Bristol. So
Exactly.
There are limits.
It's going to be tough.
But just wanting it to be so precise, you know,
Right.
breathing in the same way, not only the same moments, but in the same way.
Yeah.
And, but it was a lot of work, but we got pretty close, honestly.
Really?
Like we got really, I mean, people were really amazed watching it on stage because it was a group of all young women, youngish women, playing people who were, I don't know, 70s and up.
Yeah.
And telling their stories.
Wow.
And I think it added something really unique. So yeah, that was one of the biggest challenges for me, I think, in that year of grad school. But it was cool.
That sounds like an incredible experience.
Yeah. It was a good way to learn, you know, I guess how to try to let go a little bit more. 'Cause I think perfectionism, it's definitely held me back in some things, and like just that fear of failure, like not wanting to try things that
Absolutely.
I haven't ever tried before.
Yeah.
But I definitely, when I moved back here, there were all kinds of things that I was like, if I want to be an actor, if I want to do this, I'm going to have to do things that I've never done before and just, you know, try to face my fears. And it did help me, realizing like, yeah, well, you might make a fool of yourself, but you're going to be okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
You weren't used to the full face paint and the knife things.
No, that was a whole new experience, but very fun.
We did a film called Distortion, and there's a nightmare scene where Nicole's like all painted up. So, and then she slits the guy's throat. So,
Damn.
yeah, it's that was fun.
It was fun.
Because when I told the makeup artist Victoria to like, this is what I wanted, she like gave me exactly what I wanted, and I was like, oh,
oh, that's terrifying. Yeah, it was one of those things where I looked at myself in the mirror when she finished, and I was like, Is this a mirror? Is this, oh, whoa, it's so scary.
Who's this co-actor that keeps following me around the room?
And how can people see this?
Presently it's in limbo between platforms.
All right, JK. Edit that out.
Anyways.
So do you currently, you've worked on films with Alan.
I have, yeah.
Do you find yourself focusing more on films now since you've moved back to the cities, or still kind of going back to your theatrical roots?
Yeah. So I would say I had never really done film before I moved back. Mm-hmm. I was an extra in a really awful horror feature when I was maybe like 24 and had a very bad experience. So I'm not going to say any more about it than that. Mm-hmm. But that was kind of my experience with film before I came back. I just hadn't really done it.
Yeah.
Because I'd always been so theater focused.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And again, after, being in grad school and getting a little more confidence, and then coming back here and working with some folks and realizing that there's such a great film scene, I was like, oh, well, there's something that I could try that kind of scares me, but might be fun to do. And so, Alan actually cast me in my first short film in the Twin Cities, which was Details.
Yep.
And that was really fun because I got to play a character that I haven't really gotten to do before. She has a little more of an edge to her. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It was just it was such a fun weekend.
Yeah.
And that was such a nice experience because part of what I love about theater is the community. Mm-hmm. And I was so not nervous, but I was just like, oh, I don't know if you get that with film.
Right.
And yes, it's shorter and more intense, but there is such a community thing. Plus, because the community is somewhat small, like you just start working with the same people,
right?
On different films, and it's like, oh, it's great to see you again, and I think that's so great. It's still got a community. It's just a different setup,
right?
And we had a blast. I mean, we were
I know
late nights.
Yes.
We were at that fitness center until like 2 a.m. I don't know, and I was like, well, this is different. This is new.
Yep.
But doing something, I think we did it in one weekend. At least my portion, I think, was in one weekend. You probably had a little more than that, but maybe 2 weekends.
Right.
But I'm so used to the long process of theater,
right,
with rehearsals and then performances. It's a couple months of your life, and
this was Z-Fest, so it was kind of like
Z-Fest,
go.
Yeah.
So.
And I was like, we just made something.
Yeah.
And it's already like. We already filmed everything. That's amazing. And then it's going to be a thing that's going to exist, forever.
Right.
That's wild. Yeah. So that was really exciting. I'm grateful to Alan for giving me my first opportunity, whether or not he knew that I didn't have an experience. Haha.
But you're a great actress, so that's why. So
thank you.
Yeah.
That was cool. That was really, really a lot of fun. And then getting to attend some of the Z-Fest events and stuff and get to meet folks there and then just see all of the amazing work that's going on in the Twin Cities. Yeah. I was like, wow, this is so exciting. Like just discovering that there was that whole side of things that I hadn't really even I was just dipping my toes into.
Right.
So
like that award night, that whole thing, like you see like, you start to see the round tables of each group, you know?
Yeah.
Then you realize, oh, okay, so that's the DP, that's the actors, that's the director, all these levels of people, because they award everything that anyone can do, possibly. Yeah. So all those people are there, so it's kind of nice.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Other than like film here recently, have you gotten into more like commercial work? Have you done any feature work? What's been on your radar?
Yes, I do quite a bit of commercial work. I do a lot of like industrials, training videos, stuff like that. But yeah, I do quite a bit of commercial work, and I've done more of that than film. So that's been actually helpful for me to just learn how to be on camera and, learn more about the different roles of folks in the room and stuff, just because I've spent more time doing that than I have film. So yeah, quite a bit of that, which is awesome because, again, didn't know that was going on when I first lived in Minnesota.
Right.
And I was like, oh, there's tons of commercial work. Good to know. So that's a big portion of my my freelance life. So yeah.
And you did the film with Andrew Stecker.
I did.
Yeah, what was that like working with an actor-director?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I don't think I have even ever been in a play with someone who was actor-director. I don't think. Oh, nope, that's not true. One time.
Okay.
But it can be... I wasn't sure how it was going to go because, it's a lot. Both of those things are a lot. He was playing a lead.
Right.
And then he was also directing and he wrote it.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is a lot for you.
Yeah.
But I was familiar with Andrew's work and I had met him, through a different project. And I had also worked with his girlfriend on another project. She's a makeup artist in town, Casey Pearson. She's awesome. And they reached out to me to ask me to do this project and gave me the script to read. And I just thought it was beautiful. I just thought it was lovely. And I was like, yes, I would love to do this. Andrew handled it like a champ. He knew that he needed a great team around him. 'Cause he's very experienced with on-camera stuff. And this was not his... it's not like he just came out of the gate being like, I'm going to write and direct and act. He's had a lot of experience acting prior to that. And so he had a really great team of people to kind of also be his eyes when he was in the scene to kind of, help guide things.
Right.
And yeah, I thought it was a really great experience. We had a lot of fun. He's a great actor to work with. And so, it was just a great experience. We had a really, really good cast and an awesome crew. And, and it was fun to see the finished product. You know, and something, that's something I'm learning about film that I think is so interesting. In theater, you don't have to watch yourself. You're like, I'm doing this thing, and also it doesn't exist forever. I mean, maybe someone's going to film it, but it's not like it's ever going to be, Right. It's like, we did that thing, and now it's gone away. And so, whether it's something that you're really proud of, which sometimes you're like, oh, that was amazing. I wish that more people could have seen it. Or if you're like, oh, this maybe isn't my best work. It's okay that it's like, but film is, it's kind of permanent. So you're hoping that the thing that comes out is going to be lovely. And I really enjoyed seeing It Was You.
Yeah.
It came together really beautifully. And there was even a baby in it who just stole the whole show. Pretty sure that baby was definitely nominated for a Z-Fest award. I don't remember if the baby won or not. But
I don't.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Phenomenal.
Yep. Totally stole the show.
Honestly, it was you, right? That was the title?
Yep.
Okay, because the whole thing kind of reminded me of This Is Us. So
yes.
So
and that's probably
it had that type of
so
vibe.
much.
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of, I would love to be on a show like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's why
I think that's a good lead-in for it, perhaps. So, yeah.
So speaking of wanting to maybe be on a show like that, you've had all these experiences and all of these adventures, going from one place to another and gaining more experience and all of this. Do you think in your future you see yourself maybe trying to do this in LA for film or New York for film and theater or something like that?
Great question. I will never say never. But I love it here.
Yeah.
Having moved around and lived not in those places, but in some other places. Minnesota has a lot of the things that make me happy. Not just a great art scene. the people here are so awesome. You guys know this. You work with them. We have such a good community. It's so supportive, and it's so, I mean, yes, it's competitive, but I feel like people really lift each other up, and I love that, because I think that really helps people do better work.
Yeah.
Truly. So I love that. I'm a seasons person. I like having seasons. And so the idea of, I mean, sure, sunshine is nice, but I just can't imagine having Christmas without snow. It's not really my thing. I love the seasons. I love the access to the outdoors that we have here. I think is amazing. I live very close to the Mississippi, and it's just so wonderful to be able to go down and take my runs along the river, and it helps me recenter myself, even though I'm, in the middle of the city. It feels easy to slip off into the woods or get down to a body of water and just kind of like recenter myself. And obviously, I mean, there's the ocean in LA and all of that. There's also a lot more people and a lot more pollution. So I've only ever been to LA once. It was very brief. I went for a long weekend and just kind of felt it out. And I was like, yeah, it's cool here. I can't really picture myself living there. But I wouldn't say that I would never like go to do a project or something if the opportunity ever arose. Like I always think that would be cool. I love traveling. I would love to travel really anywhere to do a project for a short period of time. Yeah. But at least for now, I love calling Minnesota home. So yeah.
Aww. Yeah. That's a really great answer.
Yeah. So we kind of touched on a little bit what got you into like your schooling and everything, but what was it for you that really was like that? That's it. That's why I want to keep doing this.
This is my forever.
Yeah.
I can't pinpoint a specific moment, I don't think.
Or moments, maybe it built. I don't know.
Yeah. I think. I'm trying to think.
You love Shakespeare. You said that.
I love Shakespeare.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess this isn't necessarily early on, but this is something that that really made me feel like, oh, I want to do this maybe always. When I started working with Stone Soup Shakespeare in Illinois, what we do is Shakespeare in the Park for free, and we specifically go to very small towns and rural areas that do not get much for performing arts. Because they don't get much for performing arts, and we feel like everyone deserves access to that. I also am someone who thinks that Shakespeare is a lot more accessible than maybe people initially realize. If you see it done really well, it's just a story, and there's a reason that the stories have been around for so long. And when I started working with them, we were going into these towns, and it's really near and dear to me because I grew up in such a small town and we had almost nothing coming through. Yeah. Montana Shakespeare in the Parks would come to our town one time every year, and I always marked it on my calendar, and it was a really big deal. And it was like, pack the picnic, we're going. And it was, and I guess that's early on. That was something, watching that was like, oh, this is amazing. Yeah. That communal experience, like sitting with a group of people and experiencing a story together live in person was really amazing. But when I was working with Stone Soup Shakespeare, the conversations that we would have with people afterwards, because it was very much, we try to keep it pretty casual. We do the show, but then we really want to interact with the audience afterwards and just talk to them. And people drove for hours sometimes to come and see the play. And I was like, wow. There's such a desire for people to take in art and share stories. And I think acting and storytelling, and whether it's theater or film or whatever, it breaks down some barriers, and it makes hard conversations sometimes a little more accessible. If you just touch on something in a story, all of a sudden people feel like they can open up and chat with you about their own life experiences. And I don't know, I think art can save the world, but that's just me. It creates space for conversation. Just pure human connection. That's what I love. That's why I love doing this. Telling stories and connecting with other humans. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
So going off on a bit of a tangent.
Sure.
So when it comes to the stories that you love telling,
Yeah.
are there specific types of stories that you enjoy acting in more? Comedy, serious, romantic. We were just talking about holiday movies, holidays, like literally anything. Like
Awesome.
something you're more drawn to.
I don't know. I like all of those things for different reasons. I think I would like the opportunity to do more comedy because I don't get to do that very often. And some of my favorite roles that I've done, at least in theater, have been comedic things where I'm cast against type. And so it would be fun to maybe do a little more of that. I'm pretty scared of improv. So that was actually one of the things when I moved here. I was like, all right, well, you got to start facing your fears. So I took a course in improv.
Oh, wow.
After I moved here. And it was like every class I would be like, okay, you can do this. You can do this. You can do this. And it was just a group of like 10 people. Just, it wasn't even, we weren't performing for anyone.
Yeah.
I find it terrifying. I have so much respect for improvers. I think they're amazing. And so I think, that might hold me back a little bit from certain types of comedy. But there is the desire there to get better at it for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love watching comedy. Who doesn't love watching comedy? So yeah.
What are some of your favorite comedies, real quick?
What's one of my favorite comedies to watch? Let me think about it.
Do you watch The Office, Parks and Rec, anything like that?
I was really into the British Office before the U.S. Office came along. So that's a little different kind of humor. In undergrad, I studied abroad in London, and we started watching it, and it's British humor. I really enjoy British humor. Not everyone does.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. I like how quiet and unassuming it can be, and how it kind of like sneaks up on you. It's a little bit less obvious. I like how clever it is.
Yeah.
So
like Mr. Bean or yeah. I love Mr. Bean.
Mr. Bean. I saw him in the lobby of a show that I went to in London, and it was very funny. My friend from the US was visiting, and he was standing next to me. He goes, "Hey, look over there. I think that's Mr. Bean." And I look over at him, and he looks right back at us and just gives us this such a Mr. Bean wave where he like wiggled his fingers like, because he knew that we recognized him. It was so cute. We were like, oh my God.
Oh my God.
That's fun.
It was very fun.
Oh my gosh.
Hilarious. Yes. Yep. We were seeing the producers or something. But
okay, more tangents.
More tangents.
I love tangents.
Great. Let's do it.
Did you see the thing with Rowan Atkinson where he was like trying to get a car? He was talking about getting a car part, and the guy's like, "You remind me of Mr. Bean." It's like,
oh yes,
that's because I am the actor who plays Mr. Bean.
Yeah.
And the guy just like, "No, I don't think that's you." Yeah, I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No,
I just
somehow
pretend
not
to be
seen
the
this.
guy who plays Mr. Bean?
All the people.
That's who I would pick.
Yeah.
Oh no, I have not seen that.
Yeah,
I'm
okay. I'll send it to you once I
look
find
for
it.
it. Yes. Yeah. Oh, hilarious.
Mr. Bean. Okay, so you like British humor.
I do. I do. Sorry. That's what I like.
That's okay. What are some of your favorite movies overall? Like,
Oh,
what is something you could watch more than once?
Oh, yes. Okay.
Desert Island movies.
So
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Favorite movie of all time that I've had memorized since I was a child is The Wizard of Oz. My parents used to record things with the VCR off of the TV, and so I still, like, if I watch it now, I can still remember where the commercial breaks were in my original copy that was filmed off of the TV. Aww. Yeah, because I've seen it so many times. And then I think what I really like are, what I really enjoy watching are films that have some sort of like fantasy aspect or fairy tale aspect. I'm a huge Princess Bride fan. It's just, I think it's maybe a perfect movie. It's amazing. I could watch it over and over and over and over and over again. I love movies like Big Fish, or, things where it's unexpected and there's a fairy tale element. Stuff like that. I remember really loving Moulin Rouge when it came out because there was so much spectacle and so much glitter and dancing and music and that kind of stuff. So yeah, those are some of my favorite things. I also, because I like British humor, I enjoy Love Actually. I know it's controversial, but thank you.
That is one of my easily top 5.
So glad we're on this. So glad we're on the same page about that. Yes. Yes, I know people have strong feelings. I happen to love it. So, yep.
We're all of the same mind in here.
Oh,
so,
yes.
Yeah.
We have strong feelings for that movie.
Yay.
And it has Rowan Atkinson.
See?
Right?
Exactly.
And he's so brilliant in that.
So good.
It's so
that
good.
scene. My God.
Just
so
appears from under the counter.
So good.
Or from around.
Oh.
Yep.
Just warms my heart.
I know.
I
know.
I just love it. I can't even think of another question because I'm just thinking of that movie. Okay.
So where were we going before we went on this tangent?
That's the one problem with tangents.
Hard to say. Hard to say. That movie also has one of my favorite actresses in it. Emma Thompson.
Is it Emma Thompson? Yeah. She's so just, I feel like yes. She's so brilliant. That scene where she excuses herself and goes into the bedroom and the Joni Mitchell song is playing. And like, if you just watch all of the little tiny things that she does in that scene, it's so heartbreaking and so real. Yeah. I love her. She's unreal. Yeah. I just watched, here's another tangent for you. She was on Jimmy Fallon. Recently, apparently. And she did one of their like fun bits that they do, where it was like you pick a number off of a wall and it gives you a song and an instrument that you have to play. Oh no. And there's all of these random instruments, some of which I did not know were instruments. And then you have to go and play the song on the instrument for the band to guess what song it is. And she is so funny. Like, she's just so wonderful doing this entire thing. And she's quite good at it. Playing things she does not know how to play. And she's hilarious in the process. You should absolutely YouTube it and watch. Okay, I'm going to check that out. It's wonderful. That sounds awesome.
We're just going to flood her inbox with videos.
Yeah. Can't wait. It's so
100%.
Send me all of the things.
But yeah, so speaking of favorite actresses, so she's one. Like, who else do you kind of look up to as, okay, I love the way that they go through their craft?
I mean, Meryl, because she's Meryl.
Yeah.
I did get to say hello to Meryl Streep once, and it was very funny. This is, again, when I was in London studying abroad, and we went to a movie premiere. I think it was like the Lemony Snicket movie or something. So Jim Carrey was there, like a bunch of people were there, but Meryl came down the line and we had gotten there really early. So we were right by the gate and she was like signing autographs and shaking people's hands. And she signed one for me and then she shook my hand and I wanted to say something to her, but I think I just said something like, "You're amazing" or something. And she was like, thank you so much for coming. And like, I swear my head like left my body. I don't know. I thought I was going to pass out because I was like, Meryl Streep spoke to me, which is so funny because I don't feel like I'm someone who gets really starstruck, but I was like, whoa, I am very starstruck.
Yes. It's hard not to be with her. Yeah. Which is funny because I'm sure she thinks of herself as just like, I'm just a person.
She was
like,
so
I'm just
cool.
a mom.
She was so chill. She was so gracious. And here's me being like, like I just was so.
Yeah, who knows how it came out? Huh?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I don't even know if she could understand what I said, but I could think she could tell that I was a fan. So that was good.
Oh, fun.
Thanks,
what
Meryl.
a dream.
Thanks for shaking my hand.
Yeah.
So yeah, Meryl. Someone whose career I think is really interesting that that I don't know, I think we're, somewhat similar types. Not just because she's a redhead, I want to be clear.
I really hope
Amy Adams.
Oh, okay. All right.
Not who you were thinking?
I thought you were going with one thing, and it popped into my head the moment that you came in. So I was really excited about it, but that's not who it was. But love Amy Adams.
Yeah.
I love her.
Amy Adams, I have loved her since Drop Dead Gorgeous, which is another movie that I really enjoy. That's my kind of humor, I would say. Drop Dead Gorgeous is my kind of humor. If you really want to know. Yes. I've loved her since then. And then she went, she did Enchanted, which is totally the sort of thing that I would love to do. But then she's also done some really, more, I don't know. She's done a whole range of things. I mean, like, look at her in The Fighter and Arrival. And I don't know, just like really.
Vice.
Yes.
Yeah, she has done just everything. Yeah. And she's so good at all of it.
And she was in The Office.
She was in The Office. I just watched that episode the other day. Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah, so I think she just has amazing range, and I like that she doesn't pin herself into any one specific thing, and she seems like she just wants to try a whole bunch of different things, and I like what she's got going on. Yeah. Good job, Amy. Yeah.
I feel like those are some really good, like, not role models, but like women to like aspire to work like, like,
I like that.
Their craft is, they're excellent at it.
Yeah,
that's a good bunch.
Work really hard. And I like that Amy has theater background too, because go girl. So yeah. So
I know you've done a short film called Master and Servant, is that right?
Master Servant.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And that the filmmaker was
Julie Kanan is the director and the writer.
Oh, okay.
Oh, cool.
And I think one of the producers as well.
Wow.
Tell us about that. I didn't get a chance to see it at the film festival here locally, but
yeah. So if we want to talk about a dream day on set for Nicole, that's Master Servant. I am something else that I really love is period pieces.
Yes.
And I've always, I've done, various things in theater that are set in different things. But when I thought about doing film and on camera stuff, I was like, I would really love to be in a period piece someday. I like how epic and sweeping they can be. And of course I'm obsessed with the costumes, but also, I like telling older stories, like stories from history. 'Cause I think we have so much to learn from history that we don't actually learn most of the time. And I just think that it's so fascinating to dig into some of those stories. And that's what Julie did. She wrote it because she got really interested in what was going on in the Twin Cities area as they were like finishing the first transcontinental railroad. Wow. And just kind of digging into the stories there. And she was looking at it from, not only the upper class perspective, but also the lower classes and everywhere in between. And so she based, I think, at least most of the characters are based on real people. So she's done a ton of research. I had seen the posting about auditions for it, and I was like, I got really excited. And then I was reading the specs, and I felt that I didn't fit the spec of the one particular role that I would have been auditioning for. So I was like, oh, I don't want to submit because I don't want to be that person who submits themselves for something that they're not actually appropriate for. And then I have Cynthia Urich to thank.
Yes.
Thank you, Cynthia. I had auditioned for her previously, and she reached out to me and said, hey, I think you'd be really great for this. And I was like, okay, if you think I fit, then.
Yeah.
So I filmed I wasn't available for the audition, so I filmed a self-tape, and my husband helped me as my reader. So that was very nice of him because he's not an actor, but he did a great job. And we filmed this thing and sent it in, and then I got a call back and I got really excited. And then went and did the callback. And then Julie called me to tell me that I was cast, and I was so excited. It was one of those like jumping around the room sort of things. Because I also knew that it was going to film at the James J. Hill House, which I love. And I found out several months before that I was going to be doing it, and I was just over the moon. And then I only had one day on set because I just have a couple of scenes in this particular short film, but it was amazing. Like, it was so fun to show up there, and they really put a lot into it. I mean, everyone was in full period hair and makeup and everything. So they had, I don't even know, at least 5 people doing hair and 3 people on makeup. And because they had to do not only us, but like, they were making sure that the extras all looked great. Yeah. And it was, really intense updos and stuff like that.
Right.
Because of the time period. And then it was so cool to be in that house with everyone just dressed in those clothes, just wandering around like it was like Twilight Zone.
Did you have lunch too and break for lunch or
we
a
did.
break?
Yeah,
and then everyone's sitting around.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
But they fed us like in the actual dining room at the house.
My
and
God.
so we're sitting under this like crystal chandelier and like,
wow.
but we all have these plastic like almost lobster bib sort of things on because we're wearing these beautiful rented costumes.
Right.
We're like, well, don't get those dirty, but also we didn't have time to get everyone out of costume and in again. So it was like, you better cover that up.
Darn.
So that was really funny.
Yeah.
I was sad because I ended up getting really sick like 2 days before the shoot. And so I was pretty sick when we shot, but I just faked it. I had so much adrenaline. I was like, oh yeah, it's fine. I'm fine. It's great. This is amazing.
It's like, are you doing okay? Yeah. Great.
I have time to be sick after the shoot.
Yeah. The scene that I did, it was at the base of that. If you've been in the house, it's that beautiful staircase that comes down, and it was right at the base of the stairs. And there was a string quartet that they brought in that's like playing live music.
Wow.
And we're having this, and I was like, I'm so happy right now. Like, this is just the best day.
Everything.
It's like a fantasy land.
It was.
What was going on there?
It really was. I was just so, I don't know. I felt like I was floating like all day. And we had just amazing people in the cast. And Julie is such a great director to work with. She just is really respectful of the actors and their craft. And she empowers you to make choices, but then just gives such good direction, and I really enjoyed working with her, and I know she's got ideas for where it can go from here, and I'm so excited for her. I hope it goes places, because it's a cool thing. It's a cool thing.
Yeah.
It did screen at Twin Cities Film Fest, as you said, which was very exciting. I had never had anything in Twin Cities Film Fest before, so I was really pumped. And then it was really fun to actually get to see how it all came together. I think they did a beautiful job of putting all the pieces together. So I'm excited for, I don't know, when we can share it with more people. But I know it's currently making the film festival circuit, so you know how that goes. It's under wraps for a bit while it's doing that. So.
Unfortunately, I know how that goes.
Yes, you know. So, yeah.
All right, well, big question, and we kind of went over it a little bit earlier, but I want to deep dive into it.
Okay.
It's like a two-parter kind of.
Okay.
What is your why And what do you want people to remember from working with you?
Oh, okay. Yeah, we did touch on this a little bit, but my why is definitely human connection. Just opening up ways for people to share stories and connect with each other. I think that's a beautiful thing that art can do. So that's why I love to stay involved. And anytime that I am away from it for a while, I'm always drawn back because I miss that very much. So yeah, that's kind of my why. And I already forgot the second part of the question.
What do you want? Essentially, what do you want to be remembered for?
Oh, I think, what do I want to be remembered for? If people work with me, I want them to want to have me back. Either because of my professionalism or because they enjoy my presence. Because I do try to bring the positive to set, or a combination of both. But I want to be someone that people enjoy working with for whatever the reason. So I guess that's my answer to that question.
Absolutely. How can people either reach out to you to maybe try and work with you, or see some of your work?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Well, this is excellent motivation for me to finish the website that I have not finished for myself. Thank you very much. So someday NicoleGoeden.com will be a thing. Right now I do have a actor page on Minnesota Playlist. So you can go on Minnesota Playlist and find my actor page, which has a bunch of my information. It's got photos, it's got my resumes, all that kind of stuff. You can also contact me through there. You can email me, gaeden.nicole@gmail.com, goeden.nicole@gmail. I am on Facebook, but I don't usually take friend requests from folks that I haven't met before or worked with before. Okay. Just personal preference. You can feel free to send me a message on there, though, because I can still view those, and maybe we can connect that way. And then I'm on Instagram as well, at Nicole U4IA, which is supposed to be Nicole Euphoria, but people don't usually get it. So, yeah.
Now I get
I'm on
it.
Instagram. Yeah, see, if I explain it to you, that's how that works.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so feel free to reach out.
Absolutely.
Great.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. This is really fun.
Thanks, Nicole, for coming on. I enjoy working with you, so
Same.
I think
So everyone else will too.
that will be carried on throughout this episode. Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, it was great getting to meet you and get to know you a little bit. We'll have to have you on again.
And for Film in Minnesota, this is Alan Tracy.